When most of us think of the word colorblindness, we think of a medical condition, an inability to see color. But today I want to talk to you about a very different kind of colorblindness. The idea that our government should not see race when making decisions. On paper, this may seem like a good idea. It even sounds fair. If we treat everyone the same, won't that lead to equality? Well, not exactly. For over 400 years, African Americans were denied freedom, land, wealth, safety, and even basic health protections. And these long-term barriers stem from as far back as the 1800s, when enslaved people spent over 2 centuries working without pay, which meant they couldn't build generational wealth while white families and the U.S. economy grew rich from their labor. They were also legally denied education, so even after emancipation, they started from scratch in a society that already didn't want them to succeed. Then, systems like segregation and redlining were put in place to limit where African Americans could live, work, or even go to school. So, here's the core problem. A colorblind approach acts as though everyone is starting from the same starting point, even though history pushed some people miles behind before the race even began. And the consequences of these past policies are not gone. They show up in the present every day. For example, Black mothers are nearly 3 times more likely to die from childbirth complications than white mothers. Asthma and late-stage cancer diagnoses are far more common in formerly red-line neighborhoods. African Americans are 6 times more likely to face incarceration. And homeownership rates, one of the most important ways to build generational wealth, remain far lower for Black families. These gaps aren't accidental. They're the predictable outcomes of systems built unequally and never fully repaired. Yet, despite all this evidence, many government leaders insist that not seeing race is the fairest approach. But refusing to acknowledge race doesn't eliminate racism. It eliminates accountability. We see this most clearly in debates over diversity, equity, and inclusion programs meant to address structural inequality. Opponents claim that these initiatives are unfair, but DEI doesn't give special treatment. It gives people a fair starting point. Equality isn't achieved by treating everyone the same. It is achieved by giving people what they actually need to reach equal opportunity. Look at it this way. Imagine there are 2 kids, one who grew up in a wealthy family with clean parks, clean air, and private tutors. The other growing up with the exact opposite, underfunded public schools, hazardous air, and limited resources. If those 2 kids have such completely different starting points, does it really make sense to expect them to perform the same without acknowledging those differences? So finally, the million-dollar question. What does it take to truly move beyond colorblindness? I believe we need 3 things. The first being awareness. We must continue to collect race-based data to measure whether gaps are truly being closed. Next, we need training. We must ensure that doctors, educators, and officials understand their implicit biases and how to counteract them. Finally, we need repair. We must invest in neighborhoods that have been harmed by decades of discriminatory policy. Because at the end of the day, moving beyond colorblindness isn't about making anyone feel guilty or pointing fingers. It's about being honest. It's about being willing to look at how we got here so we can make better choices about where we want to go. We can't fix problems we're unwilling to see. And real equality only happens when we're willing to face the truth. If we want a future where every child, no matter where they live or what they look like, has a fair chance to thrive, then we have to look directly at the disparities that still exist and choose to address them, not pretend they aren't there. Thank you.